go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, soon to meet our thunder.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Our Drunken History. We're joined us here in the shed again with me, Travis, and Zach right here. We're kicking back with some Yingling flight because this week's episode is a special episode about the history of the U.S. Air Force. Coming up is the Air Force birthday, so we've
75 years.
Yeah, Zach and I both Air Force veterans. We're both aircraft maintainers or maintenance, and,
Knuckle draggers, pointy heads, whatever you want to call us.
Yeah, and so we have some pride in our history and where it came from. So we're going to go over that this week.
When did you join?
I joined. Entered. Delayed enlistment was in the spring of 2002, and then I went to basic in November 2002.
Geez, you were in DEP a long time. They
Yeah.
called it the delayed entry program.
So is why I was in DEP, because so now I think they do it a little bit different. When I went in, and you probably did the same, you were a guaranteed job.
No, I did
Oh, really?
not. No, I went in open electronics.
Okay, so I went in guaranteed my FSC, my Air Force specialty, and the school didn't have an opening until later on, so I didn't go to basic until the school had an opening for me.
I joined delayed entry in January of 02, and I left for basic April 1st of
Okay.
02, and I had no clue what I was going to do. I went in open. I scored high on my electronics on my ASVAB.
Yeah.
I went in open electronics. The first job I got was nuclear missiles in space, and I had tried marijuana in high school, as many people do, and it at the time permanently decertified me from a top secret security clearance.
Okay.
So I did not get the job of nuclear missiles in space, and then I ended up as F-15 avionics.
Okay.
So I did that. I worked F-15s. I went to basic and tech school, and I graduated tech school just before Christmas of 02. Worked 15s at Nellis. I put in for an overseas remote. I did a year in Korea on working A-10s and OA-10s, which we'll get into a little bit of that.
I didn't know they had OA-10s out there still. Oh, that's right. I remember that.
It's just a designation.
Yeah, I remember that now.
They're the same fucking.
Yeah.
But then I went back to F-15s, specifically F-15E models at Nellis. During the time I was at Nellis, Congress took weed off the bad boy list.
Yeah.
So you were allowed then to have smoked marijuana, which I wasn't a big pothead or anything, guys. I just tried it.
I did not inhale.
Yeah, no, I inhaled. I got high as shit. But it was not... It wasn't for me. I didn't care for it. I've always been a beer whiskey fan.
Yeah.
But I was able to get my TS, my top secret, when I worked at Nellis, and got me into some pretty cool programs in the fighter world. I got out. I did a year of prisoner transport, and doing security for the. I did railroad security for a little while. Then I did court security and prisoner transport security with a company in Montana.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting back on as a military contractor, and I've done that ever since. And it's been great. I've worked with the Air Force, the Marines, with pretty much anybody in NATO.
Yeah.
It's been a great time.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting journey. So, yeah, before I get into my side of it, if you guys haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to our channel.
Good call.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. Right, if you're watching the video right here, make sure you smash that subscribe button, and then follow us on any of our audio wherever you find your podcast. We're there. We're distributed everywhere, and then you can always hit us up on our social media on Facebook, on Twitter, and on TikTok as well. We're trying to expand out everywhere. But I went into 2002, and I went through. I did my guaranteed job of F-16, F-117, and MQ-1 avionics. So I was like 3 different airframes that I was went to school for.
Mine was F-15. A-10, F-111, and U-2.
Okay. Yeah, because I ended up, I went for tech school for F-16s. I had other aircraft that I was technically supposed to work on. But in tech school, all we worked on was F-16s. That's all we learned on. We hit a chapter up about a few different things.
I don't even remember doing that.
And but then did basically 6 months of F-16 school, and I got assigned to Creech Air Force Base working MQ-1 reconnaissance aircraft. So I had to learn it all over again.
On the fly.
On the fly.
Yeah.
And so did my 4 years at Creech there, and then I got out and I went and worked for Bell Helicopter, working on their final assembly and flight test center in Amarillo, Texas. There worked on the AH-1Z Cobras, the new Z model Cobra helicopters they have. That is a badass helicopter though too. Even though it's pretty capable.
Yeah.
I think the Apache has probably some more advanced avionics, but that thing's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And then after that, I worked on CV-22s there, the tilt rotor.
Ospreys. I flew on those in Africa. I dropped a G-Shock watch out the back of one. It's probably still in the dirt out there in the middle of Africa.
Middle of Africa.
It was hooked onto my backpack and the strap broke, and I watched that bitch bounce and fly out the back.
No.
And I loved that watch. And I was just like, no. And it fucking into the dirt. So if you find a watch in Africa,
there's probably some goat herder out there that's selling that thing.
Yeah, it's solar too. The shit still works.
So I did some after I worked with Bell Helicopter for a little while. I went and did some corporate aviation. I did flight test with Hawker Beechcraft on corporate jets. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I got to fly on a lot of private jets for
That's
flight
pretty
test.
cool.
But that was
flight test is fun. That's what my primary job was at Nellis Air Force Base.
Yeah.
I worked on operational test and evaluation of the F-15E model.
Okay.
So we also have weapons school there. They call it the Weapons Academy.
Yeah.
And that is the Air Force's version of Top Gun. For those of you who are Maverick fans.
Yeah.
Which I worked those planes when there was nothing going on the test side, but I was predominantly on the test side. It was prototype weapons, avionics, cool, fancy, neat shit that made a tremendous impact on some things overseas.
Oh yeah,
really, really fun job.
That's really kind of the neat thing too with this, because I got my basics, if you want to call it that, in the Air Force. I learned a lot, but a lot of the cool shit I did or have done has been after the Air Force. Yeah. And some of the doors that open, though, for me to work where we're working now, the clearances that we've gotten and all that too. The
cool thing is, and I don't mean to be a proponent of the good old boy program, but it's who you know.
Yeah.
I would not be where I was without the guys I was in the Air Force with, who were, they knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody and got them a job, and in turn helped me get to where I am. So all the guys I worked with, it's a very close knit community.
It is.
And if you don't know somebody, you know somebody that knows them. It's really cool networking opportunity and I'm sure it is in the other branches as well.
Yeah, well, and it's probably that way even with other career fields though too. Just knowing somebody the right contacts to make, and that's one of the big thing is networking.
But the camaraderie aspect of it. There's not a lot of people I put my ass on the line for.
Yeah.
But the ones I was probably in the military with.
Yeah, and that's true, because that either in the military with them or on a deployment with. It's crazy. I did 3 deployments to Iraq while I was active duty, and but I've done 10 deployments as a civilian, because I've done more traveling and more deployments doing my civilian job than
it's cool because Travis and I did not know each other in the military at all, even though we lived in Vegas in the same time frame. And later on in life, we knew a lot of the same people, even though we didn't know each other until we both got to Arkansas.
Yeah, he'd be talking about somebody, and I was like, I know them. I was in the Air Force with them.
Yeah, small world.
It is.
I actually I never got to deploy active duty. I tried twice when shit first kicked off in Iraq. I'm gonna get that bug on your face. I tried to go, and I still had my wisdom teeth, and they would not deploy me with wisdom teeth.
Yeah, they when I showed up at Nellis for my first in-processing dental appointment, they said, "Oh, you got your wisdom teeth; those are coming out." And like they scheduled 2 weeks later after I got to Nellis, I was having surgery and having them removed.
No, I got mine pulled, and then I was supposed to go over, and I ended up getting orders to Korea.
Okay.
Which I had put in for. I had requested orders to Korea, but yeah, it interrupted a deployment. Well, then I got to Korea, and you're not deploying from Korea, like you're.
No.
You know,
that's kind of a deployment almost in itself.
Yeah,
I've heard the stories.
It's a wild place. But anyway, yeah, I did a 1 year short tour in Korea, and then got to Nellis, and in Nellis, for the most part, guys like him were at a satellite base like Creech, but for Nellis proper, you're pretty much non-deployable.
Yeah.
Because you are either with the weapons school, which is all training, or you're test and eval, which is not deployable.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because really Nellis is a major training base for a lot of the fighter pilots and other pilots. So
that place is amazing. There's a lot of shit going on.
At
it's Nellis,
huge,
man.
Dude.
It is a wild, fast-paced place to be.
Yeah.
So as we said, we're bumping up to the 75th anniversary of the Air Force, 1947. September 18th, 1947.
Yes, September 18th
is the day. How did the Air Force start?
Well, so let's see here. The Department of the Air Force, as the Air Force itself, as its own standalone branch in the military, was created from the National Security Act of 1947.
Signed into effect by.
I don't know if I know that one.
I believe it was Truman. Am I wrong?
That would have been Truman. Yeah, he was president.
Yeah, I think Harry Truman is the one who signed that. So, but the thing is, the Air Force goes way back before those times. But it just was not called the Air Force. The Air Force started as the Signal Corps. Yeah,
it was the Army Signal Corps, and it started in 1907. August 1st, 1907, as the Aeronautical Division of the U.S. Signal Corps. And back then, the Army, they was using hot air balloons and stuff too in the Army back then, and all that for reconnaissance and different things. And the aviation had only been around literally for a few years.
So my favorite plane ever is a F-15. It's a big, sexy, fast motherfucker. Yeah. But the plane I want to own is a Piper Cub.
Yeah.
I love Piper Cubs. They're the do-it-all little ATV of the airplane world, right?
Yeah.
They got their start in World War I. Yeah. They were on the front line with the Signal Corps.
Because those planes are known, they can take off and land on very short, unimproved surfaces. I mean, they can just land out on a dirt field or somewhere.
And they were the first reconnaissance plane. And they would fly out, come back and land in the dirt, and you'd fly them 1,000 yards and go see what's going on over here and land them.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. So back then too. So even if you think about a Piper Cub nowadays, they're small, they're lightweight, they don't carry a lot of payload. They were trying to figure out how to put weapons on aircraft back then too. Like, we got this new toy. How can we make it? How can we put guns on it? And
so on when you're flying a plane, an Air Force plane, the button that you hit to release a bomb is called the Pickle Button.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
Now, if I think because they would carry stuff up in the planes like grenades or whatever, or I've even heard of them dropping like little steel shot with fins on it out of barrels and dumping them on.
They would practice dropping them into pickle barrels while flying over. So that's what they would, and if it would hit in the barrel, it would pickle.
Okay.
So that's where that comes from.
The Pickle Button. Yeah. Yeah, touching
on
that.
So a missile button is a rifle.
Yeah.
And a bomb drop is a pickle.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And at that time, they would literally just take regular hand grenades and just pull the pin and drop them out off the side of the. and try to hit stuff with them.
Fuck yeah, man! You got to do what you got to do. Get inventive.
They didn't have actual purpose-built munitions back then. I think then they started using mortar shells. I think eventually, and finally started putting fins on these little handheld 10-pound.
Trying to improve your accuracy a little bit. Yeah,
and they were literally just hanging over the side and like just tossing them out.
Yeah, it worked though. It worked. Yeah, it revolutionized warfare.
Yeah, it did.
And now, and it's the truth, and I don't care what you Marines and Army guys say, air superiority is what wins wars. The Navy knows that. The Navy is the third biggest air force in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. And so, let's see, where's that at? Yeah, the Navy. And there's at one point, I think the Navy actually had more aircraft than the Air Force did.
Fighter aircraft.
Yeah.
Yes, but not total aircraft.
Yeah.
So do you know how many aircraft the Air Force has?
It's like 5,369 military aircraft and 406 ICBMs is what's on here.
So I can't comment on some of these things, but what I can say is that's a lot of goddamn airplanes.
Yeah. Well, that's not counting. Those are active aircraft.
Right. So when you look at like Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, they call it the graveyard. There are planes there that are mothballed. They can be ready to go to war in 30 days.
They have, if you look it up, go on Google Earth and look up the boneyard at Davis-Monthan, and it is thousands of acres of aircraft stored, and it's basically a parking lot. And they have them in different stages to where these aircraft can be combat ready in 30 days.
Yeah.
These aircraft can be ready in 90 days.
The planes at Shepherd
that
we did training on when we were coming through tech school, they have to be ready to go in 80 days.
Yeah. And
if the shit hits the fan enough to get those planes out, that all those tech school students who never touched a plane, I would not want to be that pilot.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. All the stuff we took apart and put back together on those things. Well, that's a little known thing too. The Air Force Thunderbirds and even the Blue Angels as well. The Blue Angels fly F-18s.
Yep.
Thunderbirds fly F-16s. Those aircraft are combat ready, and I think they have a 14-day turnaround that they can have those aircraft. They said minus paint, they can have them combat ready in a week.
Yeah.
But really, all they got to do is put the gun back in them, pretty much.
It's incredible. That is incredible.
So some people think those just demonstration teams are a waste, but those aircraft are still ready, combat capable, and can be used if they need them.
And I had to deal with the Thunderbird guys.
Yeah.
So I did not like them. They were prima donnas.
Oh yeah.
But the mission is essential. It really is. The demonstrations are great. The pilots are some of the best in the world. Well, the Blue Angels are the same way. It's some of the best pilots in the world.
It's a huge recruiting tool, though, too. If you go to air show and see those guys, I mean, it makes you want to join the Air Force.
You'd be proud.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first time I ever met the Thunderbird pilots. I was 5 years old at an air show.
Really?
Yeah. Something I'll never forget. I never had plans on joining the Air Force. I never did. 9/11 is what made me join.
Well, so that's the thing too. Like I had planned on. I actually applied for the Air Force Academy to get in.
Did you really?
And I missed my math score on my ACT test was 2 points under the cutoff, and they rejected my application. And they said apply next year. I was like, I'm not waiting a whole another year. They said, retake your test and reapply, get your math score up, and you'll be good to go. And like,
my grades in high school were too good. They weren't going to look at me. I skipped class a lot. I went snowboarding.
But so I decided to enlist instead and did that. But I really, growing up, I wanted to be a pilot. And then
I think the vast majority of people who join the Air Force intend to be pilots.
Oh yeah.
So
my when I went to an eye exam in high school, my dreams were crushed because my eyes are way too bad to be a pilot.
Really?
Yeah. Now they allow, at the time they didn't allow surgery. You had to have natural 20.
Yeah, 20/70 correctable to 20/20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mine's like 23/50 right now or something like that. So it's
I don't know much about the eye test, but yours is bad.
Yeah. Like I can see at 20 feet what a normal person with 20/20 can see at 350 feet.
Jesus Christ!
Like,
how'd you work on planes?
contacts, and glasses. Oh, you had
fly on the. That's why they put you on the unmanned ones.
I passed my color vision test for flying colors.
Yeah, you can't be colorblind and be an aircraft maintainer.
Yeah.
Because the wires are all different colors.
Yeah, you got to be able to know what you're looking at. And
yeah, and that's true, man.
Don't cut the red wire. No.
Dude, I worked with this guy, and it sucked because he was also from Montana, so I caught a bunch of shit because there was the two of us that were from Montana that anybody had ever met.
Yeah.
And he was changing out a cannon plug on a plane. He diked all the wires.
Oh no!
And
just in one swoop.
Boof! It palm treed all the wires. We were like, "What the fuck?" You got to know where those wires go. Yeah, it was a guessing game for like 3 days to figure all that shit out.
Oh man! Yeah, now you got to trace all those down to find where they go.
That's what we did. It sucked a dick. We were fucking mad. You said there are several different types of aircraft. Yeah. Right. There are over 5,000 aircraft in the Air Force inventory. Right.
Yeah.
There are fighters, bombers, reconnaissance planes. There are attack observation aircraft. There are weather airplanes, which most people don't know. There's Hurricane Hunter squadrons.
So that's
their job. They're weather planes.
Yeah.
There's a ton of trainers. There's tankers, refueler planes. There's all kinds of different aircraft in the Air Force. Most people think of the Air Force and they think of F-22s and F-35s. Yeah, those are but a small slice of the pizza, guys.
Yeah, yeah. You automatically think you think of the cool, sexy airplanes, the fighters, but then there's a ton of stuff. Well, that's one thing the military, not just the Air Force, but the military as a whole is known for is their logistics. You know, logistics is actually what wins wars. Being able to get
people on the ground, get equipment to them,
get food, get fuel, and the Air Force Air Mobility Command does most of that.
They do
flying. They have the biggest and the best cargo aircraft in the world.
C-17 is one of the greatest airplanes ever built. I love that plane. I like flying on that plane. It's a beautiful looking plane. I never flew on a C-5.
I never got a chance to fly on a C-5.
I was in one and it broke.
Oh no!
So we didn't get to take off. Yeah, they break a lot. They call them. Their nickname is the Fred. A fucking ridiculous economical disaster.
Oh man!
They're pig. They break a lot. But when they fly, they haul the world.
Yeah.
They're a big fucking airplane.
So if you don't know, you can look this up. So a C-5 is the Air Force's largest aircraft, and actually, I think now it is the biggest aircraft.
Yeah, the Antonovs, they all retired. They had Antonovs that were bigger, and I do believe that the last one retired
because they crashed one, and then the last one, I think they retired it.
And then it was destroyed.
Oh wow!
In Ukraine.
Oh, that's right, because it was stored there.
A few months ago. Yeah, the Russians. Sorry guys, it's gone.
The
Russians took it out.
The C-5.
You fuckers.
So interesting fact about that. So imagine a school bus, all right? Mm-hmm. A C-5 can take off and fly with 17 school buses or Greyhound buses loaded into its cargo hold.
Have you seen a C-5 take off ever?
They look like they're going to fall out of the sky. They take off, but they're so big it looks like they're going slower than what.
The thing is, I was blown away by how short of runway those things need to take off. They you look at them, you think they need to get a good long run.
Yeah.
No, there's so much thrust generated.
Like each one of those engines, I think, puts out 150,000 pounds of thrust.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they're like 12 feet wide or whatever too.
Yeah, they're fucking huge. Yeah.
And they sound like they're going to explode. Like if you live in the San Antonio area or
you've heard them.
Yeah, they fly over there. That's a training area for them there. But they the way they groan when they're taking off, it just sounds like they're gonna.
The APU on those, we had one land when I was at Seymour, and I walked past with it's called the auxiliary power unit. It's the onboard power generator, basically. Yeah. That thing was running, and it's a small jet engine in itself. But even that thing was loud as. I thought I was gonna blow an eardrum walking by that bitch. I wore all my PPE.
Yeah.
This was a one-time thing. I really I didn't plan on walking by it. We had to walk by it, and I didn't realize how fucking loud that thing was.
Oh yeah.
But they're They're a loud bitch, man. But what is the loudest plane you have ever heard?
The loudest plane I've ever heard is probably either...
Most people have the same answer for this, and I challenge this idea.
For the ones I've heard personally in Iraq would probably be either a tornado or tornado, the British RAF. Those are fucking loud.
Those are loud.
And then F-16s are pretty damn loud. But I'm trying to think. I know there's other aircraft that are louder.
Most people say a B-1 is the loudest they've heard.
Yeah.
And those things are loud. But the loudest plane I ever heard in my life was F-111s.
I heard those. I never got a chance to hear one in person.
Dude.
I know the Australians were flying them for a
we
while.
sold them all to the Australians, and they revamped them, and they made them, and they were a great plane.
Yeah.
But they brought them up for a red flag. Those fucking planes taking off are so loud that on the flight line working at Strike AMU, Aircraft Maintenance Unit, which are gone now it's back to fighter squadrons, but at Strike Aircraft Maintenance Unit, those planes taking off on the runway, probably a good 500 yards away, were shaking my eyes in my head.
Oh yeah, they're nuts. Yeah, I know. They'd have the B-1s take off from Nellis when they were doing red flag. And
B-1s are fucking loud airplanes, and they are cool as shit at night. Watching the 4 afterburner, I love that.
Yeah. That aircraft is when they signed the nuclear treaty with Russia. I can't remember what the name of the treaty was. They had to downgrade those aircraft, the B-1s. Yep. They were actually a lot faster than what they are now, but they had to downgrade them to a minimum or a maximum speed. Couldn't be over a certain amount for that nuclear strike treaty.
I believe a lot of that is why they designated the A-10s to OA-10s too.
Yeah.
So you, per some of those treaties, you can only have so many attack aircraft in your inventory.
Yeah.
So they designated them as observation aircraft.
Yeah.
And made them OA-10s.
Yeah, and I thought there was like a budgeting thing or something that went along with it.
Yeah, I don't remember. I used to know all the rules behind that. When I was in Korea, I did because I was working them.
Yeah.
But, and I like, a third of our airplanes were OA-10s. But
yeah.
I worked on, it was the third F-15E model ever built. And it wasn't even a true E, it was a converted D.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 6187, tail number 6187.
Yeah.
It's still there, still at Seymour.
Wow.
Still flying.
That's one thing a lot of people don't realize, too, with the Air Force. They are meticulous with their aircraft maintenance. And there is aircraft, literally, like when you look at B-52s, there are aircraft that are 50 and 60 years old that are still flying. I mean, those aircraft flew in Vietnam. Flew combat missions during the Vietnam War, and they're still flying today. I mean, they've been upgraded over the years. But you know, the metal, the structure is still the same. But that's how well the aircraft are maintained. That they can have that type of service life. And they're talking about some of those B-52s will still be in service past the 2030s.
Yeah.
So they said some of those aircraft will be in service for 80 years before they're retired.
That's incredible.
That's nuts.
Yeah. I worked on planes from 1976 and 1977.
Yeah.
Before that were still in service, that are still in service today.
Yeah.
And this is some of the A-10s.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because so that's one thing that was sad about the A-10s. So you know they can't build any new A-10s?
Yeah.
So
what a fuck up.
When so Fairchild Aircraft Company is what built the A-10s, and they went bankrupt at some point, I think in the 80s.
Yeah, in 82 or 83, I think.
And was it McDonnell Douglas? I think, and now they're not even existing.
No, they're not. It's Boeing now.
And I think McDonnell Douglas at the time bought out like some of their patents and rights and stuff like that. But they had all the tooling and all the jigs and dies and stuff to build the A-10 parts, and they sold it all and melted it all down for scrap as part of like the bankruptcy stuff. They literally can't manufacture new A-10 parts.
Yeah, those they call them a flying tank. And it's sad, and I understand that they are limited in their abilities. They don't have afterburner. They don't have a radar. They don't have the ability to carry these super advanced weapons.
But the thing is,
nothing else can fly low and slow and have that big fucking gun. And not only that, just the mental aspect of that airplane. If you're a bad guy on the ground and you hear A-10 coming,
yeah,
like you shit your pants and then you die.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like that aircraft does its job exceptionally well.
Yeah,
like, nothing else can take its place.
No, there's and they've been trying for years. They truly have. They've tried with the MQ-9. They tried with F-16s. They're trying it with F-35s now.
Yeah.
And I get the idea of trying to have these multi-role aircraft. And I'm behind it. Having a plane that can do observation, can fly super fast, can carry nuclear weapons, can do all these great, awesome tasks. That's so cool. But nothing can do what A-10 can do.
Well, and I think really too, like, the A-10 was designed during the Cold War to blow up Russian tanks. That was like going to be the battle of the future, was blowing up tanks across the Russian tundra. But really, when Iraq and Afghanistan kicked off, the A-10, I think, really stepped into a role that it excels at, that really it wasn't ever built for that role.
Close air support.
But it is the best aircraft we got that does
Absolutely.
that. The close air support, supporting the ground, the
troops on the ground. Yeah, man. If you have troops in contact,
yeah,
that's the best thing in the world to have overhead.
And that
it just excels in that role.
I wish we had we should have brought an A-10 shell from work.
Oh, I got one in my attic somewhere. I do. Shit, I didn't even think about that.
But an A-10 shell though, you just take the shell is about the size of 2 or 3 beer cans stacked on top of each other, and it will shoot those bullets at 3,600 rounds a minute.
Well, and the different types of ammo that they use.
Yeah, high explosive, armor piercing, incendiary,
depleted uranium.
Yeah,
they call it. You can load different kinds of ammo, and they call it a party mix.
Yeah,
I love that. True story. Yeah, what a fucking cool round.
Yeah,
cool airplane. I'm a 15 guy. I love E-models.
Yeah.
E-models are the only plane that we have in the Air Force inventory, and really in the world, they can dogfight their way in, drop bombs, and dogfight their way back out.
Yeah.
They're a fucking massive extra fuel, extra horsepower, badass fucking airplane, man. Yeah. They have a phenomenal radar. The A-10 was built around the gun. The 15 was built around the radar.
Yeah.
It's the only plane that has ever shot a satellite out of space.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true, yeah.
That is a true story. They shot satellites out of space with the F-15. It's just a fucking warrior-ass plane. And there's never been an F-15 shot down in air-to-air combat.
Yeah.
There was a couple taken out by surface-to-air missiles. I knew one of the air crew that got shot.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they got shot down in Iraq when we first went over. They weren't like friends, but I had met them. But I remember when their plane got shot down by Sam. But air-to-air wise, the plane has never been killed.
Yeah. 0
losses.
Yeah, it's if you have a pilot that knows what he's doing in an aircraft, thing's like a Ferrari with missiles.
It is, yeah. I worked on the old generation F-15E models at Seymour.
Yeah. And
then I worked on the newer ones at Nellis, and that's just a badass fucking plane, man. That's
the cool thing too. That the Air Force has some of the coolest toys. I mean, you got the Navy has some pretty cool boats, ships, or whatever you're gonna call them. But man, Air Force, like we were talking about the A-10 and the F-15s, and then one of my favorites is the gunships, the AC-130.
Yeah, the Spectres.
Those things that have a
Spookies,
105 millimeter howitzer sticking out the side of your airplane, and then you got
bad bitch.
Then the 40 millimeter cannon, and then the mini the Gatling guns on the side. I mean, and they could put all of the ammo on a pinpoint target.
Yeah. No, the pods that they carry, the ISR
Yeah.
surveillance abilities, the cameras that they can carry are just second to none. It's some of the best engineering in the world.
Yeah, that's one reason why too the Air Force has such a big budget, I guess too. It has a
and now they've branched off into the Space Force.
Yeah, so the Space Force, I guess, is the newest branch of the military that was signed into law. That was in 2017 when they signed that in, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We'll have to maybe do an episode on that.
We'll have to learn about it first.
Yeah, they don't. They only have 13 career fields on their job board. If you,
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's not a very big.
It's tiny, little thumbprint.
But the Air Force mission actually got to the point where they were trying to cover so many different.
Yeah,
aspects.
it got to be too much. Yeah.
It was time for them.
As Travis stated, he tried to get into the Air Force Academy. That would have been amazing. The Air Force Academy is such and all the military schools are. Naval Academy, West Point, Air Force Academy. They're very, very exclusive schools to get into. The Air Force Academy is in Colorado Springs. Some of the best and brightest go there for several different career fields. In the Air Force, they call it a Air Force Specialty Code. In the Army and the Marines is MOS. And the Navy, I don't know what the fuck it's called. What is your AFSC?
Mine was a 2A3X, whatever that. So 2A3X2. So that was the F-16 avionics was the primary.
Mine is a 2A371.
Okay. So the 2As was the
2As was flight line maintenance.
Yeah,
that's what we were.
And then depending on the number, you use either a mechanic or electronics, or and then they had E&E, which was all
electro-environmental. Yeah, they did the crew comfort.
Yep.
Yeah, and the lights. So they called them spark chasers. So it's kind of cool on the flight line.
Oh yeah.
You have different nicknames. Your crew chiefs are called knuckle draggers.
Yep.
Your avionics guys are called pointy heads. That's what we both were.
They made fun of us for being smart, so I don't know. Like, I guess
my dad is calling me. I'll call him back. Your electro-environmental guys are called spark chasers.
Mm-hmm.
Your engine guys are just dirty fucks.
One of my favorite was the ordnance or bomb loaders, booger hookers. Because the bombs are green. And
yep.
Strap them up on the airplanes.
That's what our boss was.
What else? Trying to think of any other good nicknames we had.
Well, the thing is so for us, our job was also shredded out. So we had comm nav guys.
Yeah.
So I was attack systems. So I was like radar basically, and a few other peripheral systems. Some of the pods. B shop, that was A shop. B shop was flight controls and indicators, like all your little do's at what's in the cockpit. And then C shop guys was comm nav.
Yeah.
So that was and it was kind of funny how the stereotypes were. For A shop guys, it was always like your kind of self-centered fucking look at me guys, which I don't know what I'm talking about. Your B shop guys were always kind of your quiet but always dirty, like the guys who like chain smoked. And then your C shop guys were the guys who got together and played like Dungeons and Dragons on the weekends.
Yeah, they're definitely the nerds of the group.
Fuck yeah, they were. And that shit is so true.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you think what the different stuff you're working on is, the C shop guys was more electronics, computer stuff, and then so those guys were the computer nerds a lot of times. But unfortunately, on my career field, for F-16s, probably 2 years prior to me joining, they had their career field shredded out as well.
And they got rid of it.
And they combined them all into one. So I had to learn all that shit.
Now, there's no shredding of anything. It's all aircraft, all avionics.
Is what they did is the reason behind that was they was actually doing a reduction of force in the Air Force. And because at that time, like you were saying, there's that avionics job took 3 different people to do.
Yeah.
Well, if they combine it into one, they can get rid of 2 of them.
So the thing is, and you don't stay in that even when you were shredded, you didn't stay in that career field your whole career. You gradually learned the other stuff and grew up. As you grew up, you learned more. So like I was an A shop guy to start.
Yeah.
But then I got my 7 level and I was everything.
Yeah.
So now they essentially just took the steps off the ladder.
Yeah.
And put you on the top rung to start.
Yeah, it's a lot of information to learn. Those aircraft.
It is. It's I don't know now, and I'm not trying to be boastful or anything, but I know that when I was in as a 2A3 F-15 avionics guy, we had the most volumes of career development courses of any job in the Air Force. We had 17 volumes.
Yeah, ours was 13. It was freaking nuts. You'd get this stack of books that you had to learn and take tests on to make sure. You had to take the test to get rank. You had to take the test to
progress in your career.
Yeah, progress from like an apprentice to a journeyman.
And learn your job. Yeah. Not just on paper, but actually it really did help.
Yeah, it was basically the technical manuals for the aircraft, and you had to learn that stuff.
Oh. Man.
We went off on a little tangent on that stuff.
There's also other proponents to the Air Force. There's the National Guard, Air National Guard, and the Air Force Reserve. The Guard is basically state-ran Air Force.
Yeah.
You don't get orders. You don't. There's a lot of things that you do and that you don't do when you're active duty. Active duty, you tend to get orders every 4 or 5 years. You go to a different base. Sometimes you go to a different airframe.
Yeah.
And we're talking flight line specifics. As far as like finance people, I don't fucking know what they do.
Well, I've heard of like finance or people working at the MPF building that had been at one location their whole career, 20 years. And
I had a flight chief. So a flight chief is like a supervisory position. I had a flight chief that had been. He grew up in Goldsboro, North Carolina, which is where Seymour Johnson Air Force Base is. He joined the Air Force out of high school. Well, that's not even true. He went to University of North Carolina in Raleigh, which is 50 miles away. Graduated. Then instead of getting a commission, he enlisted in the Air Force. Became electro-environmental on fighters. Went to basic training and tech school. Got orders back to Seymour Johnson, North Carolina.
Wow.
Moved back in with his parents. Stayed there 11 years. Did a 1-year short tour to Keflavik, Naval Air Station Keflavik in Iceland.
Yeah.
With a follow-on to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. Moved back in with his parents.
Oh, wow.
His parents passed away. He inherited a house. Stayed there 11 more years. Did another short tour to Naval Air Station Keflavik, Iceland. 1 year. With a follow-on to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base.
Wow.
Got orders back to move back into his house that he rented out for the year while he was gone. Moved back into his house. Retired. Still lives till this day in the same house where he grew up in. He's the only time he has ever lived away from home is when he went to college, 50 miles north of home, when he went to basic training and tech school, and the 2 years in Iceland.
Wow. See, the whole reason maybe I joined the Air Force was to actually get out and see different stuff and experience different things.
Yeah, man, I wanted to go see other places.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, could you imagine, like...
Oh, man.
Yeah, you can't... I don't even think you could do that now if you tried.
No, that's nuts.
I had other buddies who have been stationed in fucking Germany, Italy, Korea, the Philippines, Japan, Alaska...
Yeah, but every 3 or 4 years you'd be getting
everywhere,
orders.
Man. Like they've gone all over. They've seen so much of the world. Their kids grew up all over the world, and you know have had these amazing experiences. And this dude like still is in his old bedroom.
Still lives in it. Still got the posters on the wall.
Still got the monster in the closet. Yeah. Anyway, what was the slogan when you joined? Do you remember?
I think it was still aim high when I started.
I thought it was aim high for years. I thought it was cross into the blue.
I think it changed to that. I think it might have changed to that while I was in basic. I think it changed.
Yeah, I know it was right because we were about the same time. I know it changed. It changed the cross into the blue, and then it was fly, fight, win.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And now I think it's back to Aim High.
Aim High. See, I mean, I liked that one. That was
Aim High was great.
I didn't like the fly fight win. That was just.
I thought crossing the blue was dumb.
Yeah.
And I also, this symbol right here on the shirt is called the Hap Arnold. That's the original Air Force logo.
Yeah.
Named after the only Air Force 5-star general. I thought this was the best symbol. Now they got the jagged eagle thing, which is
I don't care for that one that much.
It's a little too cyber for me.
We'll put a picture up of it.
Yeah, I like the Hap Arnold, man.
There was a logo after
classy.
that one that was pretty good too. It was wings as well. I think it just had a solid white star with wings, and
I like it, man. That's the one that I think. There's some things that are timeless in the military. The Marine blues.
Yeah.
Are the sexiest uniform on the fucking planet. I love the way they look. You can't beat a classic Hap Arnold.
Yeah. So you go from the Marines dress uniform, which is probably the best, or the Navy dress whites.
Navy dress whites are cool, but I would not want to wear them.
Oh, I'd be afraid.
I feel like I get barbecue sauce all over them.
Oh yeah, I'd just look at something and get them dirty.
Yeah.
And then you got the Air Force dress blues that look like a freaking 1980s business suit.
They are terrible. I do not like the Air Force dress blues at all.
They're the worst dress uniform, I think.
Yeah. Which sucks.
Yeah.
Because they had so much opportunity there.
Yeah, they could have.
Yeah.
Well, and so another thing with the Air Force too, back in the 60s, I think they got rid of them in the late 1960s. For flight line maintenance, the Air Force had a mechanic's uniform that was shorts.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It was a khaki work. I can't remember what they called it, but it was a work uniform, and but yeah, it was khaki shirt with your name tapes and rank and shorts.
You know how the Thunderbirds have their coveralls?
Yeah,
we tried to get coveralls instated as a uniform in North Carolina.
At one point, it was there was the coveralls.
And it should be. Yeah. Flight line guys should be able to wear coveralls as a uniform and like we came out.
It's no different than a flight suit.
And what we actually came out with. Rules, so we could like present it like hey, this is the rules we need to adhere to.
Yeah.
And it was like your green winter set of coveralls had BDU name tapes, and BDU rank, the subdued rank, and then your blue summer weight coveralls have blue name tapes with white lettering and Air Force blues stripes, which makes sense.
Well,
it looks professional.
Yeah.
It's still a utility uniform.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, guys. Flightline guys don't need to be wearing camouflage.
Well,
what are you going to do if we get bombed? Hide as a bush?
Well, the first
tuck and cover? I mean, you're on a big old concrete pad.
Well, the thing is, though, when you get to work, if you're a mechanic, the first thing you do to get to work after roll call is you go change out of your BDUs and put your coveralls on.
Take off your fancy boots and put on your shitters.
Yeah. So, it's the thing is, too, you could even do that as the uniform of the day. You know, if you're not working on the flight line, if you're doing medical appointments, you'd actually wear your BDUs or something. It's just like pilots, unless they're flying, they're supposed to wear their standard uniform. And then they can wear their flight suits when they're scheduled
I
to fly.
agree, man. Utilitarian uniforms for guys who have utilitarian jobs makes sense.
It does. So, maybe if anybody that's higher ranking in the Air Force right now that's watching this, maybe you can push that. Maybe, hey, they're always talking about how there's lack of morale. That might help boost the morale a little bit. And it's something as simple as a uniform.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So you get movies that are about lots of movies about Navy SEALs.
Yeah. They all write books too.
Every movie's about Navy SEALs. Yeah. Which the SEALs are great.
Yeah.
More power to them. Then the Army has the Green Berets and the SF, and they have some amazing guys.
Yeah.
The Rangers are phenomenal. The Marines have their MARSOC division.
Yeah.
The Air Force has AFSOC, Special Operations Command, which I know you were a part of for a while, and I've deployed with quite a few times. I was more Air Combat Command and PACAF during my career, but the Air Force, on top of AFSOC, does have their own elite fighting units. They have Pararescue, which is kind of the EMTs of the military. Now there are medical guys who, like the Navy has hospital corpsmen, who get embedded with Marines and SEALs, and then
you kind of look at an Air Force pararescue basically almost as a corpsman with extra training that can that jumps out of airplanes to find and rescue either downed pilots, injured SF, because a lot of times those guys go in and hand in hand with SF units.
They'll also go in if planes that crash somewhere have sensitive equipment or data. They will go in and they will either extract it or destroy so it doesn't fall into enemy hands, which is a pretty cool mission to have.
They've got a lot of special training for that kind of stuff where they can fix up bullet holes or they can punch bullet holes in things.
Then you also have Air Force Combat Controllers, which are essentially they call them JTACs, but they're forward deployed air traffic controllers, and they call in like weapons drops. They'll call in cargo drops, but they will do it in the shit in the middle of a firefight.
Yeah, those guys usually, they will sometimes even be just a small team of just 2 or 3 guys behind enemy lines somewhere. They'll parachute in and set up, and they'll laze targets, or they will call in grid coordinates for artillery strikes or air strikes. And then they're licensed. They're actually fully licensed and accredited air traffic controllers. They have to go to the full air traffic control school as well as their SF training. That way they can stack aircraft up above them and then call in airstrikes from, and that's the thing too. They have to know each aircraft, what its capabilities are, what its weapons capabilities are, and all that. And they have to be able to and then employ those weapons on certain targets, for whatever it calls for.
There's a movie coming out here. It's in filming right now with Jake Gyllenhaal, and he plays John Chapman, who was an Air Force combat controller, who was KIA overseas. He is a recipient of 2 Medals of Honor, which is the highest military honor that you can get.
That's the guy from the mountaintop in Afghanistan, right? So that one is actually pretty cool. I don't know if you knew this or not. So his actions to earn that Medal of Honor, that was the first Medal of Honor where the actions were actually caught on film.
Yes, I did know that. Have you seen the film?
Yeah, it's
fucking
crazy.
Wild. That dude, that's a tough dude.
And I've seen the film and I saw the breakdown of it where they went in and it was like the intel briefing on it where they showed.
I watched the same thing.
Here what happened and here's what happened. But yeah, it was an MQ-1 overhead that videoed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was the first instance of a Medal of Honor action being caught on tape.
Yep. There's also a guy named Tim Wilkinson who fought in Mogadishu, Somalia.
Yeah.
Alongside with a lot of the Army SF guys. And he was in the movie Black Hawk. Not him personally, but his character, whatever. The guy who played him was in Black Hawk Down. Had a pretty big role in that.
I think he got a Medal of Honor for that as well.
He got an Air Force Cross. I don't think he got a Medal of Honor.
I think he got put up for it, but then they downgraded it.
Yeah, but a Medal of Honor, they're pretty hard to get.
Yeah.
One of the other career fields there's 2 other career fields that I wanted to touch on that are pretty hardcore, that everybody calls it Chair Force. We have our own hardcore shit. They call it Special Reconnaissance now. It used to be combat weather.
Oh, okay.
And those guys would embed with Special Forces, and they would be weather guys, which people don't realize how important that is to an operation.
Yeah.
You have to know what your elements are you're going to be dealing with. But they were fully trained and accredited meteorologists that were also Special Forces capable.
So you got badass combat nerds that can go in and either direct aircraft or tell you what the weather's going to be like. And it's really, I mean, it's that stuff is important, and some people don't realize some of the depth that you have to go into to ensure, because something as simple as the weather can
fuck up your whole op,
can make an operation fail.
And one other one, I don't. There are some guys who are attached to SF units, but it is just its own Air Force specialty code, and it's actually married to the Army. It's called TAC-P, Tactical Air Control Party guys, and they embed with Army units, and they also call in airstrikes.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, those guys. They usually they're in it with Rangers or infantry units, and they use them as their air support. That's their air support liaison. That when the shit goes down and they got their heads down from.
That's who calls the A-10 in.
Yeah, so they always talk about protecting Doc. They got to protect the TAC-P guy too.
Yep. Nothing I ever did was what I would call hardcore. I think the worst injury I ever got working on a plane was I cut my pinky.
Oh yeah,
putting a fucking F-15 radar antenna up. But it was kind of funny. This is back in the days of MySpace. I did post a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then a buddy of mine, we all have a fucking warped sense of humor. Most military guys do. A buddy of mine who was 82nd Airborne, who lost both legs in a IED blast in Iraq, he wrote to me, "Tell me of your sacrifice." Fuck you.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
So it was pretty cool. It's a guy I played Little League Baseball with and went to high school with, and he was over in Iraq and hit IED and lost both legs in the blast, but the guy is doing great. He was a true hero. Alex, hope you're doing good, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so nothing I did was hardcore, but we have the green feet, the Jolly Green, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Those
guys are hardcore.
They are. Yeah.
Their training is like 2.5 years long too, and
it's never ending is the thing.
No,
always getting better. Yeah. I did, and this is one of the coolest things I did as a civilian, is I taught the crash recovery to the PJs, pararescue guys that came over to Iraq.
Oh, okay.
On MQ-1.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to pull a plane apart and show them where all the cool stuff is, the ISR components. And, it was a really neat experience to see those guys. And then a couple days later, they had the base pool in Iraq there. We went to the pool, and those guys were doing their training, and I could not do it. The shit that those guys did underwater. They're Air Force, man, but those guys will keep up with anybody in the water.
Yeah. Well, just like just some of their entrance, you have to do like a fit test just to apply.
Yeah.
And you have to do like a mile swim as part of their their entry
under like 13 minutes 52 seconds. You have to swim a mile. It's
freaking nuts.
On top of that's bad in itself, but it's also on top of push-ups and sit-ups and a run with a 2-minute rest in between. It's not like you get to recover from these things. It's all stacked. So you're and that's just to make the initial cut to get to the tryout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you can call them the Chair Force all you want, but there's some bad motherfuckers out there in every branch.
Well, yeah, and it's I think the Army sometimes will make fun of us for being smart, the nerds or whatever. But then also we work on high tech shit. So I mean, but every branch has its specialty. So and everybody has a different job to do. So it's great.
Yep.
We all complement each other well. We don't have to be doing the same thing.
Yeah, some of us can't do the same thing. I can't swim a mile in 13 fucking minutes.
Nope.
I know that.
Not going to do it. And I respect those guys for doing it because I definitely can.
Yeah, that's right.
So, since we're talking about the Air Force, we bought the Yingling Flight. And I have to say, this is the first time I've had it. It's really good.
I drink a shitload of this at the house. During Jesse, one of our buddies who was he was Air Force combat comm guy. He
actually worked with a lot of the TAC-P guys. And
he did, yeah. He worked with a lot of TAC-P, JTACs.
Yeah.
Great dude. He came down for the wedding and he bought a shitload of Flight. We drink a lot.
Yeah. So I figure we'd stick with the
theme,
the flying theme on there.
Have you flown?
I have a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Like you're talking about, like as a incentive ride?
Just in general.
Oh yeah. But I haven't got a chance. I never got it. That was one thing I wish I could have done. I think you got to ride an F-15, right?
I did. I rode backseat for a 1.8 hour mission in an F-15E model Strike Eagle. I did throw up. We took off out of Nellis Air Force Base. Flew. This is just a fuck around mission. It wasn't like a real world, like we're at war mission. But we took off out of Nellis, flew up over Bakersfield, California, flew up into the Sierra Nevadas, did a bunch of cool shit in the canyons there.
Yeah.
Then flew back over the desert. I pulled 7.4 Gs, which is not, I mean, that's a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near what the max of the aircraft is. But we had external fuel tanks on the wing, so we actually maxed out the aircraft.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's kind of cool when you pull G's. It's the way that they did it with me, and I don't know how it is with other incentive rides. It was cool because, so my last name is Ostermiller. All the guys I was in the Air Force with called me Oz. But my pilot, his call sign was Oz.
That's pretty cool.
So it was pretty neat. It kind of a neat little, just one of those things. You couldn't run across that if you tried. But he eased me into the G's. When you're sitting right now, wherever you're at 1G, one time the force of gravity.
Yeah.
In a turn or takeoff or whatever, in an elevator even, you will feel that funny feeling. It is a fluctuation in the force of gravity. It's a G-force.
Yeah.
So he eased me into it. He went to 2 and then back to 1. And 2 felt weird. And then he went to 4 and back to 1. And 4 kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Then he went to 5. 5 hurt. Then he went to 7. 7 really hurt. We hit 7.4, and that is fucking brutal if you're not used to it. Pilots are in some of the best shape of any human being on the fucking planet. Guys who can handle sustained G-load, that shit is incredible. And 7.4 was brutal, right? But it was momentary. The thing that got me to throw up is he kept me in a 5G turn for 20 straight seconds.
Oh, man.
And we had it pegged, and I threw up.
Oh, man,
and, totally an amazing experience, something that I will never get to do again. Very few people get to do it. Even guys in the Air Force, it's not a common thing to get incentive rides.
Yeah.
I was just right place, right time, great situation. And just something that I will forever be thankful for.
Yeah.
I was still am working on my pilot license. I've flown a few Cessnas, not quite the same thing as a fighter jet, but still cool.
Oh yeah,
still an amazing experience on its own.
I always said if I ever hit the lotto one of these days, I'd buy one of those like L-39 old fighter jets or something like that, or T-38 or something.
Cool,
that'd be fun.
Yeah. I've flown in an F-15E. I flew in a KC-135.
Okay.
I flew in a KC-10, which are both refueling aircraft. I flew in a CV-22. I flew in a Black Hawk helicopter.
Okay.
I've flown in a bunch of fucking C-17s and C-130s.
Oh yeah.
I know you have, yeah.
Well, C-17, C-130s definitely flew in a lot of those. Trying to think of what else. I never got a chance to fly in a tanker or a C-5.
Yeah, I never did the C-5.
I think, let's see here, flew in, I think it's MC-12. It's a King Air turboprop.
Beechcraft King Air.
Yeah. Yep. What else? I never got a chance to fly in any helicopters either. There's one thing that was on the bucket list was a Black Hawk.
I did a Black Hawk, again, the right place, right time. In between basic and tech school, you're in details.
Yeah.
Some people have to mow the yard on the base. I got to go support a bunch of Navy SEALs.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was just, we were in the fucking Texas fucking hills in the middle of goddamn nowhere.
Yeah. For
11 days.
Oh wow.
And it was a deployment training for, and it wasn't SEALs only. It was some SEALs. There was a handful of Marines. There was a handful of PJs.
Okay.
There was a medical unit, a field medical unit. and me and a few other people got just handpicked to be triage victims. So
okay.
It was like you got shot and they have to, do their thing with you. So I got picked to do that. One of the perks of it was I got to fly in a Black Hawk and a KC-135.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So it was a really cool experience, especially being like 3 weeks out of basic training.
Yeah, you're thinking, man, is this how it's going to be?
Yeah, I'm in the Air Force, goddammit. And then it was like all downhill from there.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. It was a great experience. It was a fun time. I would love to do that again.
That's pretty neat. Now, that's one thing about it, the whole experience. I've got to see some pretty cool places. I got to see some pretty shitty places too. But but at the same time, I've sitting on a HAZ in Iraq. Like when I was 20 years old or whatever. It's pretty neat. It's one of those life experiences you're never going to forget.
Swam in Saddam Hussein's pool.
Yeah, there you go.
Not many people got to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it was a pretty exclusive club, I felt like.
Yeah. So
it was nice.
I had a chance to see some things in the world that you probably wouldn't get to otherwise. So
yeah,
it's been pretty good. So we'll have to maybe go into detail on some of our other adventures in another episode at some point.
Yeah, I think this was a good one. Happy birthday, United States Air Force, airmen and women. Now. Thank you guys for all you do. Trav, I appreciate what you did.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It's been a good time.
Yeah.
Here's to another 75 years of air dominance.
That's right. Have a good one, guys.
Hit like and subscribe.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Follow us on all of our social medias and help us out. Help us grow the channel. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.